Hi viewers, and welcome to the channel, and welcome to another episode of the mini-series for learning the Curves Workbench for FreeCAD. Today we're going to be looking at the interpolation curve and how we can utilize that for such things as parametric Gordon surfaces, lofts and surface skeletons for making such things as this bolt hole here. So this bolt hole has a number of surfaces attached to it. So we've got a mirrored Gordon surface on this one. We can use lofts if we so desire. And we've got a number of interpolation curves that run across this, creating a network of curves to create that surface. They're fully parametric and they're attached to these sketches in here. So you can see these points have a curve that runs down them, both along the horizontal and the vertical, and these attach to each of the points of these lines of the sketch, and we can adjust the size of these lines, pulling in these curves and adjusting our whole width and dimension and shape to create the desired effect that we want. We can even place these into a spreadsheet if we so desire, so we can control the size of these arms to control each of these planks going through this ship hull. Obviously this interpolation curve can be used in other applications as well, and we'll be exploring one other application for that. So I hope you're enjoying the series, and let's have a look at this tool. If you like this video, please hit a like and also subscribe to the channel. I also have a Ko-Fi site where you can actually donate to my contributions to the community, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. So we're in FreeCAD, we started a new document, and we're going to come over to the Curves Workbench and have a look at the tools that we're going to be using. We're going to be using the Interpolate Set Points, and we're also going to be using the Approximate Points to n.u.r.b.s curves or surface. We're interested in the n.u.r.b.s curves, not the surface here. First of all, I'm going to show you how these tools differ. These two here, Interpolate Set Points and the Approximate Points. We can see that by just doing a simple sketch and using a polyline. So we create a simple sketch, we come over to the polyline, and I'm going to create a jagged line like so. Hit escape again to get the mouse pointer back, and close out. And come over to the Curves Workbench now. And we've got this jagged line that's made up of a number of points or a number of vertices going through here and the edges that connect up those vertices. So I click on the sketch, it highlights every single edge in there. And if I use the Interpolate Set Points, you can see what's happened. Those points have been interpolated through via a curve. That's it in there. And if I just press spacebar on the sketch, you can see how those have been interpolated through there. That curve, there is a number of options. So we've got this option here, which sets the curve to close. So that's true, and that will create a closed curve there. Now, if we place this in the part workbench and extrude it, we can extrude that curve. We can also extrude it if we've got this unclosed as well. So if it's an open sketch, that will actually extrude absolutely fine. We have polygonal, and that, set that to true, that will actually follow that sketch exactly with one single curve or one single line going through. So let's back to false. We also got tolerance here. So I bring the sketch back, come over to the curve, we can set the tolerance. We have other parameters here which affects how that curve actually joins up with those dots or those points there. We've got uniform, we've got custom, chord length, etc. And that changes that curve through there. The way this differs from an approximate curve, I'm going to do exactly the same with an approximate curve. This one here. Well, straight away you can see some difference there. So this is our interpolation, which follows those points exactly. And this one is the approximation. So it's not going to fit exactly. For instance, if you have a golden surface and you approximate the points on that, where those two curves cross, there may be a gap, so they won't be tangent to each other. They won't be touching each other. In interpolation, they will be touching each other. Also, one thing to note is that we can change the algorithm of our approximation curve here. So we'll change that. You can see how they deviate differently from each other, the interpolation curve and the approximation curve. And that's just by changing that algorithm in there. Approximation so has some continuity in here, so we can change that. Try not to break the curve. So there's C1 continuity, G1 which breaks, C2. So you can see how that continuity affects that curve. So we've got two options there, all with different parameters that we can choose to create a curve through those points. But the question is, how can we use this? Some of these curves can be grouped together and created as a surface going across them, allowing us to change the continuity of that surface via the approximate curve or the interpolation curve. So I've loaded up a model that I'm working on, and I'm just roughing out a very low polygon F1 car. So very simple, using drafts and chamfers in there just to get the initial shape that I can work with. It's all been done by eye, and I'm just trying to create a simple body that I can change into a more appealing surface. At the moment I've got so far, so we can use the interpolation curve to actually pull out curves from this object to create a surface. If I select some of these vertices in here, so we come in and select these vertices, you can increase the size of the points of the model to make this a lot easier. Then we can use the tool and create a curve through those, and then again we could do the same down here. So now we've got these curves that are running across here. Press the spacebar. You can see we've got these curves here. If we create a number of them, then they could be used in a loft. So for instance, if I brought back my F1 car and carried on, say, place a curve over the top here, and also create some curves across here, I can then use these in a loft. I can even use them in a ruled surface, and we can build up our model from basic polygon shape to more appealing surfaces in there. Another option would be to look at something like this. Now this is a boat hull that I'm putting together, and it's an idea that I have that we could use to actually create a Gordon surface or a loft surface across interpolation curves across there. This is made up of groups. You can see these groups here, and each of these are sections of this hull. So if I come into one, you can see we've got this sketch here, and what I'm going to do is just close out of here and just hide some of these out of the way. So we've got this one here. This is the smallest one of the lot, so this is the front one, and you can see I'm working on the half breadth, so half of the actual hull itself, half the boat, and we've got these 3 lines here which denote the planks that go across the actual hull. These aren't planks themselves, they're just the points of where they connect, and you can see these are in tangent with this circle here, so these are in radius. Then we have a number of lines that connect up here, so these are construction geometry, and we've got a number of lines that connect up to this line here. So this one is, I believe it's called dead rise in boat building. So you have a number of lines here that go straight up, so each of the planks connect to these points. We can put some constraints in here, and also can put constraints for each of the planks that go along here that will be going this way. So if I bring this around, you can see how this is positioned this way. Don't worry about this, this is one of the other sections. We could put constraints on this radius, we could put constraints on the dead rise if we so desire, and we could put a constraint on the rise from the water line, which will be sitting here to the bottom of the boat. If I come out, close out of here, and bring back these groups, you can see how these groups are positioned along here. If we look at one of the groups, for instance, let's look at this one here, and I'm just going to hide the ruled surface, which is the bottom of the boat. So this is a flat bottom boat. We could bring it right up to these edges that run here if we so desire. And also I'm going to get rid of the golden surface, which is here. I've got a mirror in this golden surface because I've mirrored it over the other side. So this is our golden surface that runs across here. You could use a loft if you so desire. You can see we've got a number of curves going down and across. So each of these sections has a curve, and then each of these lines that denote the planks going across the boat are an interpolation curve. So you can see them here. The reason why I've done them in groups is because it's really easy to copy these. So when I do one sketch, I can copy it with the curve and just move the sketch, and the interpolation curve will move with it. And what I'll do is to quickly demonstrate how I've done some of these. So for that, I'm going to create a new document. I'm just going to close out the old ones, and this one here. And we'll create a new document. And the first thing I'm going to do is come into the sketcher, create a sketch, and I'm going to place it along the ZX plane. So that'll be from the front. So we're looking down here, the ZX plane. ZX plane. And okay that. I was working on the half breadth of the boat, so half the boat. I'm not going to worry about scale or constraints. So we're going to be using the polyline. And I'm going to create a number of lines going up like so. Hit escape again, and I'm just going to make these lines equal to each other using the equality constraint there. Obviously for the front one, we don't want to anchor it at the point of origin because we want this to move. Or we could use this one here as our placement. So rather having that one in equality, if I take that out, we've just got this one in equality. And I've accidentally deleted that, so that's add a line in here, like so. I can place this one under constraint, and adjusting that will push this line up and down. We now need our lines that the planks will connect to, and we're just going to place those in here. I'm going to place one more in here as well. And I've got the auto constraints which make this a lot easier. So if I come down here, you can see the auto constraints are on. So whenever I hover over anything, that's going to connect to that. If I place over there, it's going to connect via point on line constraint or point on object constraint there. I'm just going to put a horizontal constraint in here. I would use shortcut key strokes for this, but I'm demonstrating, so if I'm using shortcut keys, you're not actually seeing what I'm doing. So now we've got our first lot in. We can add some construction geometry. So for instance, I want to place these in dead rise. In other words, place a constraint here, and we're going to place this going all the way up. So I want 1, 2, 3 in dead rise, like so. And we can connect these to this line. And the same with this one here, just a point on point constraint. The other one's point on object constraint. And we'll click on this one and make it into construction geometry. This one here. So that's construction geometry. And make sure this one is connected via point on line constraint or point on object constraint. And then I may even add another one in here for the curve. And I'm just going to use a simple circle in here, and we're going to place that in here like so. Again, this is going to be construction geometry, and then attach these points to the circle like so. So we've got those points now in radius to here, and we can play about with stuff like tangency to here if we so desire. So I've made this line tangent to this circle now, and we get a nice shape. This will differ depending on what boat shape you're actually making, and this line here will be more or less, I think it's called the shear line, the top of this, the very top of the boat. Yes, excuse my boat making knowledge. It's an art form that I'm not familiar with and I totally respect. So we've got this line here, and we've got the start of our hull. Let's just put some quality constraints in here as well. And we've got this line. We should have actually placed an equality constraint across here, but that's fine. We'll go for that for the time being. Let's close that. So we've got the shape that we want to use for the side of our hull. I'm going to come in here and create a group. So we're going to create a group, and I'm going to rename this to section 1. And the reason why I do this, and that's because if I place now, if I go to the Curves Workbench, and we're going to select all these vertices, we can increase the point size of this sketch. So come into view, come down, and you'll see line color, point size. We increase this up, we can see those points much more easily now, and we can use these points like so, selecting them, going down, and I'm going to select this point as well, this one here, and we use the Interpolate Set Points. So we've got that curve running down there. We can use that in a loft if we created many of these. Now I'm going to move this sketch into section 1 group, and this interpolation curve into there as well, because what can happen now if I highlight sketch 1, edit, duplicate, or Control C, okay that, and obviously Control V to paste it if you've using the shortcuts. We've got this section 2 now. So we've got section 1, which we can hide, section 2, which we can hide. They're both on top of each other. And we've duplicated up the sketch and the curve. And inside section 2, there's the sketch and the curve. And this curve, come down to the data, if we look at what it's connected to, we can see the point this is sketch 001, which is this one. So we've created a copy of this and just pasted it in here, and everything's connected up fine, which means we can come into the sketch, look at the placement, Look at where we're going to place it. We're going to place it along the y-axis. So we're going to move it along this axis. Come down to the position. And let's move that by 50 millimeters this way. So let's move 50 millimeters. If we click off, you can see the curve has taken as well. So we've got these two curves now. And we can carry on with this. So I'm going to Control C, OK that, click, Control V, got that one. And we come down to the data on the sketch. Make sure we're on the sketch, not the actual folder itself. And let's change this to 100 millimeters. Again, come in, Control C, the last one, OK that, Control V. The reason why I do a Control C and V on the last one is because when we come into the sketch of the copied, we've got the Y copied over. If we copied the first one, then this will always be 0, and we'll just have to keep on adjusting that. It's a little bit easier. Maybe more keystrokes, but that's fine. So now we've got those sections, so I'm only going to do 4 sections in here. We can create another section over here by either copying this, rotating it around, or by creating a separate section on this side. I'm going to leave that for now, and I'm just going to concentrate on these. So we've got now all of these going this way, and I can select these points in the Curves Workbench. This point here, and this one. And again, use the Interpolate Curve across there. That top one's going to be obviously straight because they're all straight there. But if we changed any of these sizes, that will actually modify that curve. So let's place one. I will do it for all of these, but for quickness, I'm going to place one here as well. It's just to give you an idea of what you can use this for. We may want to come in and actually hide these curves because they can get in the way while we're doing this, like so. And I'm going to click on this one, this one, this one, and this one, and do the same. And the same for these as well. Let's take the bottom one. And interpolate that curve across. They're all going to be basically straight at the moment, but if we take, say, this sketch and also show the other interpolation curves, so I'm clicking on them and pressing the spacebar to actually make them visible. So we've got those going through there. We can take, for instance, this sketch here, double click it and change these, say like so, close it, and you can see we start to change the shape of our boat. So I can take this one, double click it, and again change the shape of this, bring this out, and we've got basically the skeleton of our boat that we can actually change and modify and change the heights of these. So for instance, if I want to change the height of this one, should be our first one, and this is where this comes in handy. So we can change this to say 20 millimeters. I'll push this all up and close that. Let's push that up slightly now. And from this we can make a curved surface through here. So if I add one more in here, going across here, we can terminate that curved surface. Let's do that now. So let's just hide, pressing the spacebar on these curves just to hide them so I can get to these points nicely. If I wanted a flat bottom, I can use a ruled surface going across. But I'm just going to control click these and add another curve going across and bring back the interpolation curves going across here. And we're missing one. There's the other one. This one here. I can put these curves going through the sections in a group if I so desire. And now we've got those curves there. Always best to, if we do any surfacing, just save it. We could use a loft through here. We could either loft through the profiles going across here or going across here, or we could use a golden surface across here. So all of these curves, let's go through the profiles first, clicking on them, control clicking. So they're selected there and working our way up. Like so, we can use the create a surface that skins a network of curves. And we've got our surface there, and remembering that we can go into the sketch and modify that sketch, moving these lines, increasing or decreasing the width or the breadth of our hole, or changing its shape throughout. If we wasn't happy with a golden surface, then we can press the spacebar on that. We could use over in the part workbench, we could just use a basic loft, or even part design, we can use a basic loft through here. So if we come over to our utility to loft or part loft, then we can go through the interpolation curves. If we click on them, you can see them highlighted in green there as we move through. So I can use either the profiles, like so, okay that, and loft through those profiles, or we could use the rails or these lines that go across here and do the same. So unfortunately, if you click on the here, they don't highlight on the left hand side, which is a shame. So let's see if we can find those. Best idea is to click off first. And where are they? That one, that one, that one, and the last one. And okay that, and we've lofted through those rails going across there. So we've got 3 different surfaces, all different, including the golden, and we can decide which one best fits our application. Remembering that also, if we go on to the interpolation curve and we go down to our data, we've got the options here to change the tolerance or how these curves fit those points at any time we want. So I hope that helps. Just remember that the interpolation curve is different to the approximation curve. If you're using an approximation curve on a golden surface, then those lines that create that approximation, where they cross, they may not actually join. So they may not sit on top of each other. That will break your golden surface. If you're using an interpolation curve, then you won't have that problem. So just look out for that. Obviously, that won't be the same if you're lofting through profiles through the normal part or part design. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again soon. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to my site. And also I have a Ko-Fi site where you can actually donate a few pence or a few pounds, dollars, or whatever your currency is. And that's at ko-fi.com/mang0. And there you'll be able to help me fund my site, and all the money that I actually get from any funds will actually get pushed back into the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing. I'll see you next time.